Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shaw.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's programme with Kiri Kermode and myself, Simon Clark. And, I'm hungry already because a lot of it's to do with food, and particularly the Isle of Man Food and Drink Festival. I had a chat with Audrey Fowler, who's the marketing officer for DEFA, and she's well in charge of that event along with the helpers. But this year, very successful as well, the 9th year it's been happening, and I got some figures from her about how many numbers had come through the gates, and it's surprising what the money that passed over for the people that were taking part in the event this year as well, what it generated. And also, of course, looking for sponsorship for next year's 10th anniversary of it. Also, I had a chat with Andrew Lees, who's the Food Business Development Manager for DEFA, about how the new Manx Provenance labels are going, how many more people have signed up to it, and particularly the Butcher's Charter. There was only one which we mentioned that was there at the Isle of Man Food and Drink Festival, but I think it's up to 4 or 5 people now, so he tells me more about how and why people are getting involved in that. And you, Kiri, the wool, of course, was trimmed off the sheep earlier in the year. Well, it's been stored at Knockaloe and Patrick, and now it's time for the big wool bales. Not bales like straw, but the big bags full of the wool. They're making their journey off the island to be turned into all sorts of products.
Yeah, I caught up with Andrew Willoughby from the Wool Board out at Knockaloe, and we had a good chat about how the wool is processed from the shearer right the way through to the grader and then exported out to Bradford and sold. And what a fascinating story, and to watch the boys working in that wool factory, getting the bales ready, it's just brilliant. And
it's great that you managed to get a chat with somebody who is at the other end of it and actually using the product.
To speak to an enthusiastic person that uses that wool product as a knitter, making garments, selling them to local people in different towns around the UK, it was really bringing the whole picture together. And Hazel Smith from Erst was so passionate, and a young person as well. It's just really, really good to get it out on social media and to attend these festivals that are really promoting British wool.
Yeah, well, sit back in your woolly pyjamas and you can listen to Countryside.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, a lot of people who produce and sell Manx produce here on the Isle of Man are getting involved with the provenance labels to prove and to display on the shelves on the shops and stores around the Isle of Man that their produce is mostly Manx or completely made here on the island. Well, I went along to speak to Food Business Development Manager for DEFA, Andrew Lees, to find out more about the Butcher's Charter also.
The Butcher's Charter was launched at the Royal Show, and basically, in a nutshell, it allows any of the consumers to know when they go into a butcher's shop, is the meat Manx. It's as simple as that. We've now got 5 butchers on. We've got Tears who started it. People got Lee Mares, Hardings, Baracan and Balakelly. And when you go in, you'll be able to see that the product or the meat that's being for sale has been grown, reared, slaughtered on the Isle of Man, and it can be traced all the way back. So the consumer has the confidence that what they're purchasing is actually Manx meat. It's not Irish, it's not UK, it is Manx meat that's grown on the Isle of Man.
Has this been sort of spurred on by the government trying to keep businesses going here on the Isle of Man, or the general public moaning that people are maybe deceiving them?
I think part of it was we launched the Provenance label. The Chief Minister launched the Provenance label in May this year, and this is a natural extension because the whole thing around it and part of the Food and Matter strategy was around to have a meat provenance label. So we had to build a provenance label checklist, which we've done, launched, and then the next stage was actually how do we ensure that when people are going in to buy the meat, they know what it's there. So I think people are now wanting to know where the product comes from. You know, it's not good enough just saying it's from here. They actually want to be wholeheartedly reassured that the product is what it says on the label, and the Butcher's Charter allows the consumer now to see that.
And can the consumer ask the butcher to trace it back? Is that the idea of it? They know that they've answered your questions on it and they can explain that to the customer?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of trying to keep it simple, you'll be able to see where it's come from, whether it's which producer or from the Isle of Man abattoir, the purchase date, and if it's come from the abattoir, there's a code which at any time that it can go back and be checked whether that product being sold in that butcher's was actually from the Isle of Man. abattoir. So yes, there is a check now all the way through to actually ensure what people are doing is correct. We also have other tools as well, so we can actually test the beef if needed be to see if it actually is Manx. So there are other bits and pieces we're working on, but the easiest and quickest thing to do is this butcher's charter, where the consumer will be able to now wholeheartedly know it's Manx meat.
Going back to the labels, just looking at them in front of me, there's a blue and a red one.
Yeah, we've got two. We've got the product of and the made in. Now, we've now got over 400 products now on the provenance label. You know, the 400th one was asparagus free range Andreas. And again, it shows around the products which are Manx. So the product of, they've been grown, reared, caught or processed entirely on the Isle of Man. They are Manx products wholeheartedly. So that the product of is from the Isle of Man. We have another label saying made in. And that's basically for, yes, we have a great island to live on, but not always the weather's great for growing things, such as you say, cocoa beans or coffee. But again, we use the made in to actually, for products that have come across that we can't grow on the Isle of Man and has substantially transformed. So if you take chocolate or coffee, coffee is probably the better one, if you're getting coffee that's coming in as a green bean and roasted, that is substantially transformed. So that a business on the island has basically made a new product. So we have two of those, but most of the labels people are requesting are product of, which is simply Manx products through and through.
So I suppose the people who can't source coffee beans on the Isle of Man, they might use a lot of other products that are here, and they just want something to say that at least they've tried to get just about all the products they can locally.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that people use as much Manx products as possible. I mean, the whole scheme is free. There's no cost to it. It should take you no more than 20 minutes, half an hour to fill in the form, and it's reviewed. The thing is that it's an easy scheme. It is there to support businesses who actively support the Isle of Man and the agricultural and fisheries sectors.
But there's even things in place when I had a look through it, that people can't just bring, I'm just using this as an example, an animal over and sell it straight away to our abattoir.
No, you're right. There is a set of rules, and the rules are, if you take it in terms of bringing an animal straight over, they've got to spend a minimum of 75% of its life on the Isle of Man for it to be allowed to use this provenance label. We don't want people to bring things over and 5 minutes later try and use the label. They've got to have more Manx in it than anything else. The whole point around it is actually to tell the consumer what is Manx and what isn't Manx.
And has this been helped by the Isle of Man food and drink festivals that you've been having?
Yes, it really has. It's more and more people are looking to where their products coming from. We had a fantastic food festival. I know the weather wasn't that great, but we still had thousands of people come through in that weekend, and more people are looking at the provenance label. So yes, it really has. I mean, when we launched it at the Butcher's Charter at the Royal Show, it was fantastic. There was a crowd of people looking at what we were doing, and it was great to see Tears from Ramsey being the first butcher to actually use this label.
And if anyone's got any questions,
just give me a shout. Give me a shout at DEFRA, or a real simple email address is food@gov.im, and we'll get back to you.
Business Development Manager for DEFRA, Andrew Lee's telling me about the new Butcher's Charter that more and more butchers on the Isle of Man are signing up to, plus the clarification of the food provenance labels that are now getting more popular for the Manx producers around the Isle of Man. Well, of course, earlier in the year, the farmers were shearing the wool off the sheep. And where does it go? Well, it all goes to Knockaloe in Patrick to get stored. And now it's time to move it off island to get it made into all sorts of produce and jumpers, Kerry. And you've been speaking, Kerry, to somebody who's heavily involved, a man who's got a great knowledge of the wool and the sheep here on the Isle of Man, Andrew Willoughby, Kerry.
Yes, Andrew is a field officer, but also works hard with the wool board at Knockaloe here on the island. And I caught up with Andrew to see how the shearing season has been this summer and as they're preparing to export the wool to Bradford.
Shearing season starts in May, usually with tups are the first ones to get shorn, and then we'll go on to the lowland sheep. And that carries right on through the summer, June, July, and then into August when you'll get the hill sheep being clipped. The clip last of all.
Obviously, with the different breeds of sheep, you'll get different types of fleeces coming off. Is there much variation here on the island?
Our biggest grade is a cross-heavy grade, and that'll be your things like the mule sheep, which is the mainstay of our flock, really. We have about 33 tonnes of that wool every year. Then you get the fine heavy breeds, which will be the Texels and the Suffolks, and they're finer quality wools. They're going to carpet making and things like that. Yeah.
With the difference in the breeds, will the value alter much between the fleeces?
Yeah, the cross heavy grade went last year for 92p a kilo, and the fine heavy grade, which would be the fine wools from the Texels and whatever, that would be up to 82 pence a kilo. And then the first shorn sheep, the fine 2Us, that was up at 120 a kilo last year. But the biggest seller is our Lockton wool at 166 a kilo. Well, that came down from a height of 274 about 3 years ago. So big variation, but the main important thing is to have clean dry wool coming in, because we can sell that better.
And what will drive the price of the fleeces? Like Lockton, there's not so much of it. Is it the amount you can buy?
It's the amount, and it's the desire for it in different places around the world. It's quite popular in Japan. Agents come to the UK sales, buy it, send it to Japan. And it's got quite a lot of attraction for smaller spinners and weavers as well.
And will you sell much of it locally here on the island, for the spinners and weavers?
Increasingly, well, not so much lately, but in the past few years they've taken the bits of wool, and then there's local people who will buy wool off us as well and market that and spin it.
And would there be any mileage in having a manufacturing plant here to make our own products, like, I don't know, tweed jackets and carpets and such like?
Well, there is a certain small industry in Laxey where they do make garments, things like that, but the spinning and the weaving is the end of the process. Before that, you've got kind of what's essentially a dirty product which has to be cleaned and combed and washed and carded, and that's a process which creates lots of pollutants, so it isn't really viable to do that here on the Isle of Man.
I suppose to deal with the lanolin alone, you need a lot of heat to get it out of the fleece.
Yeah, a lot of energy to clean the wool, and you need to be doing that in large quantities, which they can only really do in the UK.
So as our fleeces are baled here, this is the process that the team are doing here at Knockaloe at the minute, these will be loaded onto a lorry and taken to the UK?
Yeah, and we probably send 2 or 3 wagons out, each with 75 bales on, so that'll be about 18 tonnes on each wagon. They'll go across to the UK, but prior to them going out, once they're all baled, we'll weigh them, and then we have to core sample them, take a sample of wool for each grade, and then that's analysed at the Wool Testing Authority in Wales, and then that will determine the quality of the wool, the microns, how thick the wool is, and the vegetable matter and the greasiness, so that when the buyer's buying online in the Bradford wool auctions, they all know at their fingertips what quality of the wool they're getting. So.
This is a massive process. You just think once the sheep has been sheared in the yard and that is it, but you don't realise what work goes into getting the final price.
Yeah, no, we have to do everything we can to try and present our wool in a good way. Manx wool's very well thought of at the wool auctions because it's generally clean. But if we can add the data from core testing it, then it's not just a visible look, they can see on paper what actually they are buying, the buyers.
Because also here at Knockaloe you have a grader that will do the process to start with.
Yes, he comes over, he's a contract grader, he gets paid by the tonne, comes over for 3 weeks, then he'll go back to his home in Wales, and that's when the boys will set to baling and packaging the wool ready for export, and then when the wool's been exported he'll come back for another 3 weeks and grade. So we have about 3 or 4 sessions where he comes over, depending on how much wool we've got every year.
When your wool goes for export, is there a certain time in the year that's maybe a better price, or is it sale all year round?
Well, it's sale all year round. The wool sales in Bradford start in June every year when the fresh wool's been clipped, but we don't have enough wool. It's not effective for us to run wool control all year round because it's too much cost for labour. So we start in September, go through to the end of February, and then we hit 4 sales during that period. And it's such a global product, wool, we can hit the end of the season when people are looking to book the stocks up for next year. Sometimes you can try and hit the start of the season and you don't get any better price because they're still using the wool from the last season.
And obviously the boys, they work with heavy machinery here to bale it. It is an old-fashioned process, but it seems to still work.
Yeah, we've tried to make it more modern from the days when we were at the Brown Bobby in Douglas there. That was an old, essentially a wooden floor on steel legs, that building. And we couldn't use any heavy machinery in there, but since we moved out to Knockaloe here, we can take in a lot more wool. We can take in nearly 50 tonnes this last grading, and we can also use forklift trucks and reduce the manual handling, so we can pick the bales up, squeeze them and put them on the scales and then put them onto the wagon without using hand carts like they used to do in the old days.
That was Andrew Willoughby from DEFA talking about the wool board.
Mighty machine that they've got for packing it all together there, isn't it?
It really is. It's a fantastic operation they have with the team at Knockalo, and to see the big bales all stitched up at the end ready for export was a really great sight.
But it's still a big part of the people who are producing wool, part of their year, isn't it? And it's great to see that there's still a lot of people still putting wool into the wool department, which of course used to be at the Brown Bobby, but now at Knockalo.
That's right. There's lots of good quality wool being produced by our local farmers, and Andrew does praise the farmers for their excellent quality, but it also helps on the selling point as well. It's a good marketing tool.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, earlier in the programme we heard from Andrew Lees talking about the new labels that are growing in popularity, the Food Provenance labels, and also the Butcher's Charter that more people are signing up to. Well, of course, this was all been advertised and shown and proven at the Isle of Man Food and Drink Festival. I spoke to Audrey Fowler to find out how the event went this year.
Yes, we were very pleased with it. Once again, we were very, very lucky with a good weekend. We had a wet weather to start setting up in, but the weather came good on the Saturday and Sunday. We were really lucky to get good footfall through.
Yeah, and plenty of visitors as well.
Yeah, we had over 8,500 people. And we had over 60 local food and drink producers and their businesses there. And this year's surveys have estimated that the overall value of revenue generated through the festival is in excess of £230,000.
Wow.
You would never think that for an outdoor event like that, would you? But the surveys have revealed that the average spend per person is £34. So that's the average. I mean, some people come in less than that and some more, but if you average that out with the adults and things that went through, it's a very good spend. So the event actually costs £50,000 to put on.
Really?
It does. And then people wonder why they've got to pay to go in. But actually, we get our income from sponsorship, ticket sales and exhibitor fees. And the majority of our spend goes on marquee hire, security, first aid, staffing, waste disposal, which is huge, electric supply, which is growing year by year. All the outside caterers, they all want electric. The site fee and advertising and marketing. So it's surprising where your money goes. And then next year, it's our 10th anniversary. So we're really looking to make it extra special. So the more money we get in, at this time of year, to know how much we can spend next year then.
Quite a few new people as well at the show, wasn't there?
Yes, lots of new producers, and that comes along every year. We always get, 4 or 5 new ones. Yeah, we're becoming an island artisan, really, aren't we? Yeah. Fantastic, the numbers that are coming through.
Spoke to Andrew Lees and about the provenance labels, the choices of 2 that we've got. Obviously one to suit the completely made in the Isle of Man and the other as best as people can make it. And I think that's one of the encouraging things, and the expansion of it has been happening because of the food and drink festivals. People want to go there, show their product, and now they want a label to show the public.
Well, that's right. They want more and more to say, well, this is a Manx product, and you've got confidence that everything that we're using is Manx, and it's great to have that label on that. And people are finding that the Food and Drink Festival is the place to go to showcase their products now. They don't tend to go anywhere else but the festival, so that's good from our point of view.
One thing as well, you see things in the big supermarkets and shops, a lot of it might be Manx, some of it's not, but at these festivals where it's a little more compact and you can go to next door and have something completely different, but you can actually talk to the people who are doing the thing, can't you?
Yeah, so any questions that you have, you can ask the person that's actually making the product. It's very personal, and the detail that they can give you is great. So you can do that at the Food and Drink Festival, which is a bit unique really, to have everybody all under the one umbrella.
You're still making plans, of course, already for next year. You mentioned the sponsorship, if you want anyone to help you back it.
Yeah, well, the sponsorship packages do vary, and we can tweak that to suit whichever business that comes along. The packages start at £1,000 up to £10,000. And, the more that we get in now is the better the event will be next year, because we do have to break even at the end of the day.
But is there a danger of new people wanting, because they can get this label now pretty easily and free, to promote the Manx product, is there a worry that more and more will want to join?
Well, that's a good thing, if they are doing that. For an island of 85,000 people, say, I mean, we have got a fantastic range of food and drink producers compared to other places. And if they want to put that label onto their product and it is local and, made as much Manx as possible, then why not? The more the better, really. And
with this labelling and the conjunction with the Food and Drink Festival, it's the perfect combination, really, for people to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic showcase. I mean, there's all sorts of people that come to that Food and Drink Festival from all walks and backgrounds, really. And you really don't know who's going to be coming along to your stand. That could be perhaps a very good customer to you. So this is where it all happens for them.
And I suppose people who may not have had the labels before, gone to the Food and Drink Festival and seeing how well people can do out of showing their produce at the festival, give them a wake-up call. Sort of thing.
Well, it does, and it just gives the general public the confidence that that person is putting as much Manx into there as possible. And when they do go to the supermarket shelves, they know that they're actually supporting Manx businesses, which has a multiplying effect, really, all the way down the line.
So if people want to help out or maybe get involved with the Food and Drink Festival, contact yourself?
Yes, please, do get in touch. The more help we get, the better. And as I said, we can tweak it to suit you, whichever package you want.
Marketing Officer for DEFA, Audrey Fowler. Pretty happy with the way things have gone this year in the Isle of Man Food and Drink Festival. And of course, looking for assistance for next year's event. Well, earlier in the programme, we heard Andrew Willoughby talking about the quality of the wool here on the Isle of Man, how good the farmers are, and, how good their side of it is with trying to find markets for it. And you were speaking to a lady who was over at a recent conference on the island, Kiri, who actually uses it.
Yeah, I spoke to Hazel Smith from Erst at the Outer Hebrides Islands, a young person that's very interested in wool. And she was chatting about how to get the youth brought back into using an older product and how desirable and high-end this product can be.
Well, I came to it as a knitter from generations of knitters, just enthusiastic people really, hobby, interest in sheep and that sort of thing. I came to the islands for that sort of similar line, and I just followed an enterprise that I could see was going somewhere and was going to do great things for the island, and did training with them, workshops, and found a job from it, and was very lucky to have done that. My background is in very dull management and project development, and I did an art degree a very long time ago, so I had that sort of creative link as well, and it really sort of tied up all my interests as well as agriculture, so it sort of was a really good bit of everything, so that was excellent.
So where is your island in relation to our island here on the Isle of Man?
Okay, so we're in the Outer Hebrides. We're off the west coast of Scotland, as far out as you can go before you reach America, apart from St Kilda, which isn't populated, and it's about at best a 2-hour ferry ride, at worst maybe 5-hour ferry ride from the Scottish mainland.
So the native sheep with you must be extremely hardy.
They're tough guys. Tough, wild. Yeah, you ask a crofter about native sheep, they'll shake their heads and go, oh, those sheep. But they're brilliant. They're absolutely fantastic guys, yeah.
But recently you've had the great success of building a mill to do your productions.
Yeah, that's right. We've built fabulous spinning mill with incredibly talented, skilled, well-educated team to produce really top quality products from the island, from Island Fleece. And
do you think, as a young person involved with wool, you can make this into a product that's modern, on trend? Because it is an old-fashioned product, so to speak.
Yeah, I can see that. I think for us, we say it's a product with a lot of heritage, that it's got a lot of background, that, utilising that to market it's as a modern brand is really important, to be able to say, this is part of our tradition, let's continue generating that, continue that language, but also make it speak in a modern way. So it's about telling the story of what we do, talking about its roots and about its island nature, really marketing it as a modern product, for the garments that it can make that are really up to date. Knitting is on a huge resurgence, really on a comeback, which is so great because people want items that will last, that they've had a hand in its production for, and that's natural. Wool is so warm and tough and clean. It's a really fantastic product. So just all of those links together, I think it sells itself.
And you do an awful lot of marketing for it. You travel to the UK to do the Edinburgh Wool Festival in particular. You find that that's a great place.
Mm-hmm. We did. We found that was to be incredible. The reception that we got for that, it was the first one that we did, was just phenomenal. People were thrilled we were there. They were clamouring for our story. It was amazing. There were people were queuing outside our stall. It was brilliant. Such a good reception. We were thrilled, and we couldn't have asked for anything better. But getting out there and talking to people is so important. For wool, people need to handle it. They need to touch it, know that it's soft. We still get a lot of people going, "Oh, I can't wear wool. Oh, it's a bit prickly." You need to show them it's not at all. It's just it's about the quality of the yarn that you're producing, and from British breeds. It doesn't have to be merino to be handleable as well. So handle is really important. Being able to talk to people, enthuse about the product is really important too. People want to see that you care about it, and oh my God, do we?
But also the use of social media. I saw on your presentation in particular, you're reaching out to these people and educating them, really.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Telling the stories of where it's come from, showing the islands off. It's a little bit of tourist marketing as well. It's important, and showing the lifestyle that we lead is, a real highlight. Maybe it's a little bit rose tinted. I think we also sell the storms and the the extremity of where we live. Up to our arms in fleece and all that comes with the fleece is important. I think it's just about bringing your process closer to people, bringing your customers closer to what's made. And, social media came from Facebook and from reality TV, where people just wanted a bit more of what's going on in people's lives. And from Facebook, it's about your friends, and so going to Twitter and Instagram, you need to create that feeling of, I know those people now. I want to be approachable and
But to obviously overcome these challenges, it is a difficult nut to crack, but it seems to be working. But you guys are so passionate and enthusiastic. It says a lot.
I think so. I think that's the way you keep it going. That's the way it started. Without that enthusiasm, without that incredible drive, that wasn't me at all. That was the community and Dana that did the fundraising. You just have to keep knocking on that door. Just keep, ploughing on and real sort of passion and knowing that it's going to work to make it happen. It's doggedness.
That was Hazel Smith, a wool enthusiast from Erst.
Amazing what they produce from wool, isn't it? You see it on the sheep heading off, from the farms, and then you see the products that they have in shops, and high-end quality shops as well, isn't it?
That's right. It's such a luxury product now, and she was trying to get away from the old myth of the rugged woolly jumper where it was tickly and itchy and all the rest of it. And she says now they mix it with all different types of blends and hairs and make it really desirable and lovely to touch.
Yeah, it's one of them things. You should dread the old woolen jumper.
It's true.
But it's not, you're all right if you had the T-shirt underneath it. But yeah, it is really marvellous what they can produce nowadays with the wool. Well, that's just about it for this week's programme. But just before I go, let me tell you about the Isle of Man Beekeepers Association. They're holding their honey show and convention on Saturday, the 4th of November. That's at St John's Methodist Sunday School. And the opening ceremony will be at 2:30. And the speaker is Gail Orr from Northern Ireland. And there'll be entries for honey from all over the island. Wax candles, flowers and even mead.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
There we are. Another countryside done there. Great chatting to Andrew Willoughby there, Kerry, about the wool. Of course, you found me involved in it as well, which makes it extra interesting talking to all these people to find out, because a lot of the time you're not sure where it's gone in a way. And today you've had a chance, to listen to what the knitters and the people who are really passionate about it are doing with it.
Well, that's right, because you hear many farmers saying that the wool price is low and yet the garments in the shop are so expensive. But that middle process, until you understand what goes into scouring the wool, processing it into yarns and actually making that garment, there's a lot of energy used and expense in that middle section, and once you understand it.
Well, I haven't quite grasped yet, but I'll have another listen and see if I can make it work for me in this little brain of mine till next week. We'll leave it there for this week. We'll be back next week with more. So from me, Simon Clark.
And me, Kiri Kermode.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.